Hello everyone, my name is Richie and welcome back to another video. Today join me for another comparison video, and today we're looking at the Class 170s in Train Sim World. So yes, we recently got two new Class 170s in the West Midlands Railway and the CrossCountry variants, as you can see on the left and right hand side there, and I thought today let's bring them in and see which one's better. So I have done a couple of comparison videos like this before, namely the Class 150 quite recently, so this is going to be very similar to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what the 170s, each respective one does in like timetable mode and whatever else, and then we're going to run for the interior, see what it's like inside, and then we'll look at some other aspects and whatever else, so ultimately see which one is better. Of course, the first ever Class 170 that came to Train Sim World was the Scotrail one in the middle there, and obviously the other two have just come as a recent package. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into each one for like, 5 to 10 minutes of a service, run through the interiors, see how they run operationally and all that sort of stuff, and see which one is better. So let's jump into it. Right then, we're here in the main menu and let's take a little look at what each of the Class 170s do. So I'll start in release order and have a look at the Scotrail one. So let's jump into that. Jumping into the 5-circle timetable, obviously we've got the Class 170 that does 175 services, which does mainly most of the services on this route. Obviously we've not got the 5-sprinter timetable just yet with the 158s, but obviously this does hour-long runs, so there's quite a lot of gameplay with the Scotrail 170. Of course, if I had them installed, this would also layer into Edinburgh-Glasgow on the 5-sprinter timetable, and it would also layer into the Cathcart Circle with the Class 380 timetable. However, just from a base route perspective, this is mainly where it layers into. As for the other two Class 170s, these layer into the Birmingham Cross City, so let's jump into that timetable there. Obviously the West Midlands Railway one is the one that I'm most familiar with. As you can see, it does mainly services between Birmingham New Street and Bromsgrove, and also Birmingham New Street and Aston. Now what's quite interesting with this particular 170 is that I'm the most familiar with this one out of the three. I've travelled on these numerous times between Worcester and Birmingham, and then Birmingham through to Telford and Shrewsbury, so I've been on these many times and I think they look absolutely fantastic in this. But yeah, there is a lot of gameplay. There's probably more services with the West Midlands Railway one than there is the Cross Country one, because obviously it operates the Walsall services, the Hereford services, it does all sorts of stuff. And last but not least, let's jump into the Cross Country one, which does again mainly Birmingham New Street to Bromsgrove. These would realistically only do Birmingham New Street to University. They've added in Bromsgrove as kind of like a playable element, but realistically these wouldn't actually run that far on the route as playable. These would obviously then go on towards like Worcestershire Parkway and whatever else, but there is obviously quite a bit of gameplay with this. Not as many services as the West Midlands one though. What's really good about these variants of the 170 is that there's two separate subclasses. There's the Dash 5 and the Dash 6. With the 5-circle one, you only get the Dash 4, so this is where this DLC is a little bit better. And that is pretty much what you can do with the different 170s. Interestingly, the Cross Country 170 would be able to do the most services on the routes we already have, i.e. Midland Main Line, East Coast Main Line. I think it even do services on Manchester Airport Commuter. So, if these timetables get updated to include these pieces of rolling stock, then the Cross Country one would instantly be better because it's playable on more routes. But anyway, let's jump into these 170s on their respective routes and give them a little bit of a drive and also look at their internals and whatever else. So let's jump into it. Right then, here we go. We're doing this in release order, and here we are in the Scotrail 170. Looks absolutely splendid. Now I must admit, this is my favourite livery of the three, I think. This livery looks absolutely stunning. It really does. I love the Scotrail livery so much. And yeah, this is Edinburgh Waverley. We've got a couple of 170s over there as well. So let's get ourselves set up and ready to go to Haymarket. We're only going to go one station today. Obviously, I don't want to be here recording for absolute hours. I want to go and enjoy it in my free time. But we'll put that into day running. That's off. That's all good. So obviously the cab looks really nice. Now, I don't think there's too many differences with the actual cab between the three variants, but one thing to note with this one is announcements. Obviously, the announcements aren't in the other two variants because of like licensing and whatever else. So that is where this particular 170 kind of excels above the other two. Now, I'm not too fussed about time, so we'll do a little run around and see what it's like. So if we go through here, obviously it's a 3-car train, this one. Got a little first class section, obviously got the doors here and whatever else. As we go through here, got the wonderful Scotrail maquette, looks absolutely splendid, it really does. I've never been on these 170s, but I'd certainly love to give them a go. Obviously got a toilet there. I don't think this is an accessible toilet, but I think the Cross Country ones do. We will have a little look at that when we jump into it. Obviously all these 170s do have operational guard panels somewhere. I have seen them somewhere, but yeah, it looks absolutely stunning inside. Anyway, there is an accessible toilet, I lied. There's one there. Obviously got route maps and stuff. One thing I'll have a little look at is like any maps or signage in the other variants. I've not actually looked at that, so I'll make sure to try and spot that out. So let's get back to the cab and get driving for like a mile towards Haymarket and see what it sounds like and stuff. I don't think the sounds are too different between the three. Right, let's get in here, let's get in there, close the doors, turn that back on. Ignore the time, right, we're not focusing about time because we're not trying to do this perfectly. So what I'll do is I'll jump outside and we'll listen to it departing. So let's get going. Right, sound time, I'll let you listen to the 170 departing. There you go, sounds absolutely beautiful. I love the sounds of the 170. Right, then up to 20 mile an hour. You don't want to go too quick. We don't want to do this segment too quickly because we are only going 1 mile. But obviously, yeah, this particular 170, really nice. It's got the announcements or whatever else that do stuff. And obviously, it comes with a route, essentially. So the other ones don't actually come with a route. It comes with a new timetable, which is very nice. But yeah, I do like the Scotrail 170. Yeah, we'll just dawdle along to Haymarket. We're not in no rush today. But yeah, this particular 170 I quite like. And I think this 170 variant would actually be the easiest to bring into the northern version because the northern 170s are also Dash 4. So if we ever got that, then it'd be kind of similar to these ones. But yeah, it's a bit of an OG is this 170. It's really nice. The internals are really nice. The livery, stunning. Yeah, I like it a lot. Oh, here's the announcements as well as we go into the tunnel. So obviously this one has announcements, the other two don't. Tell you what we'll do as we're going through the tunnel and approaching into Haymarket, I'll let you listen to the outside because it'll be very loud. So brace yourself. Oh, loud diesely sounds. We might as well, whilst we're here, test the brakes as well because we're going a bit too quickly. So are the brakes any good on this 170? I think obviously, you know, sounds and physics and whatever between the three variants won't be too different. It's mainly like the internals and what they do from a gameplay perspective. We're not really looking at like how they run and how they sound and whatever. Just a little bit, but not mainly. So let's slow down for Haymarket. We don't want to overshoot it. That won't be very good, will it? Oh, the brakes are pretty decent. Yep, that's alright. The brakes are just okay. We've overshot a little bit, but it's alright. Right, we'll open the doors there. Awesome. Nice one. So that's a little look at the Scotrail one. Obviously, these looks will be very, very brief because we've mainly looked at what they're going to be doing from a gameplay perspective. But that's the Scotrail one. Looks absolutely splendid. I wonder if there's anything else to note. Obviously, you've got the first class in there. PIS. We'll have a little look at the PIS as well whilst we're here. Let me go out the train and run through it, and then I can show you the PIS. There you go. There's some PIS. I think you can also change it, can't you? Let's have a little look. Right, you can change it in the cab somewhere, I believe. Let's have a little look where it is. There it is, yeah, you can change it around. If I got my little thing, turn that back on and press that, you can change it all around if you really want to. I don't know whether you can do that with the other two. We'll have a look at that. Anyway, we'll carry on looking at what we're doing. So yeah, the PIS works there. Does it work on the side of the train anywhere? Let's find out. Yeah, it's there, look. So we've changed that all around. So you can mess around with the PIS and stuff like that, but yeah, it looks really nice. And yeah, it just sounds pleasant and looks great. I like it. Anyway, right, that's the Scotrail 170. So next we'll jump into the West Midlands Railway one and do a little drive along the Birmingham Cross City. So I'll see you in that 170. Right then, here we go. We're here in the West Midlands Railway Class 170. Don't this look absolutely stunning? I'm well chuffed with this one. Obviously with this one I'm much more familiar with it than I am the other two variants, and it looks really, really good. Obviously it's a 2-car variant coupled up to another one, so that's a realistic formation that they would have done in real life. So let's get ourselves set up and ready to go. So let's do that. Let's turn that all on. Let me turn the hood back on as well. Do that, and put the lights on too. Excellent, and unlock the doors. Now the first thing to notice in the cab is actually a few differences. The first thing I noticed was down here, this sort of like control panel down here is a lot different to the Scotrail one. If you look at the Scotrail one, there's like bumps and stuff near the levers, so that's a cool one to note if you go back about 2 or 3 minutes in the video. But yeah, other than that, not really too much is different. You can't mess around with the PIS like you can in the Scotrail one. That's one thing I have noticed. So you can't mess around with the PIS, and you also can't you don't have any announcements. So that's a few little issues with this one compared to the Scotrail one. But there's a couple of cool little features in here. Obviously the actual panels and stuff, the turquoisey colour is a little bit darker in this one, and also you've got the green handlebars, which are a little nod to the London Midland livery when it was in that. They never fully refurbished it all inside. And we've also got the next one we're going to look at in a second, the CrossCountry one. So what we'll do is we'll lock the doors and then we'll do another little departure shot, and I'll let you listen to it departing once more. I think they all kind of sound a bit similar, but you know, it sounds like a 170 to me. So let's get going any moment now. Right then, let's get going. Full beans, and I'll let you listen to the 170 departing. I'll be quiet. Obviously you can't do full beans too much out of Birmingham because it's only 10 mile an hour as you leave, but yeah, it sounds pretty decent. One thing I have noticed though is that this particular 170 is a little bit more sluggish than the Scotrail one, because the Scotrail one goes straight away. This one gives it a moment before it starts going. Right then, we're flying out of Birmingham here at 15 mile an hour, not very quick. Right then, up to 13 mile an hour as we leave Birmingham New Street. We're only going to go as far as Duddeston on this particular run. Got a 323 over there as well. We're only going to do like a little run like we just did on the 5 circle, just to kind of see what it's like. You know, listen to the sounds and whatever else. Right then, out the tunnel. We're not going to go too quickly, but obviously the first thing to note is the Birmingham skyline looks absolutely fantastic. Honestly, this is so iconic, and being a Brummie, this is just top notch for me. Of course, you've got all the curves and streetworks for the HS2, and yeah, this just looks really, really nice. Proper nice. Looks exactly spot on how it should do. But yeah, this is an absolutely awesome looking livery. Obviously, I preferred it in the green livery because that is more iconic for me, but I do remember this orange livery, and I did travel on it when it was in orange, when they just went into orange actually, because I did travel on these up until about 2020. One thing that's a little bit upsetting is that obviously with this being a 2019 timetable, it's kind of like a time capsule, because nowadays it's all run by 196s and 730s. The 323s and the 170s don't run on there anymore, which is a real shame to be honest. Right then, a couple hundred yards to Duddeston, but yeah, I really like this variant. It looks absolutely stunning, and it's my most familiar one, so obviously because I know it and because I've been on it, I've got a little bit of bias towards it, I won't lie. Right then, here is Duddeston, so let's get some brakes in any moment now. I'll tell you what, we'll do it now. We'll approach into the station at 13 mile an hour, and then we'll put the brakes in, and hopefully it'll be alright. We've got a 350 coming in there as well. Oh, I just love how much busier this makes the timetable. I love it so much. Right then, let's stop there. Full brakes, full brakes. The brakes are pretty decent on this one. Tell you what, the brakes are a bit stronger on this than what they are on the 5 circle. There we go, let's unlock the doors. And whilst we load up passengers here, we'll have a little run around. So let's do that, shall we? So yeah, first off, we've got the cab, which obviously isn't too dissimilar to the Scotrail one, but still looks really nice. This sort of turquoisey colour is a little bit darker than what it is in the 5 circle one. Obviously, a key difference with this one is there's no announcements, and there's also no way to change the destination. So that's a little bit of a shame, but it is dynamic, I think, so you can mess around with it. Going through here, let's have a little look down here. This looks absolutely fantastic. Oh, I love this maquette. This is an iconic maquette for me. So obviously these weren't actually refurbished from London Midlands, so they kept all the maquette and whatever the same. They just painted the outside of it. But yeah, this looks exactly how it should. What else did I want to look for? Maps and stuff. Obviously the little luggage signs, they're all the same, they're alright. There's no maps and stuff, that's quite interesting. Obviously the Scotrail one's fully kitted out. Got a couple of toilets, so yeah, that is right. You usually have that toilet there, and then you have like the accessible one just around here, so that's all correct as well. And obviously a key thing you'll note as well is like the seats are a different shape. You can see they've got like this circular thing. That's not on the 5 circle one. The seats are actually a different shape, and also you have to open a door to go into the first class section, but the West Midlands Railway ones don't have first class, so obviously that's quite realistic. Obviously these things here would be a wall and a door, but the way that it's all been modelled, it's all been fully remodelled inside. Having a bit of a closer look on the outside, again, looks absolutely stunning. Looks how it should do. Obviously the logo's correct and whatever else, so it looks the part, it looks absolutely spot on. So there we go, that's a little look at the West Midlands Railway Class 170, and I must admit that's probably my favourite of the three, but mainly as like a sentimental point of view because I know these the most out of the three. But what we'll do, we'll jump into the final one, the cross-country one, and do a run southbound. So I'll see you in the cross-country one. And last but not least, here is the cross-country 170. I tell you what, this one looks good as well. Oh, they all look good. They all look fantastic. Now again, the cross-country one I do have a bit of experience with. I've not actually travelled on them all too much, but I have travelled on these ones a lot more. But yeah, let's get ourselves set up for one last time. So again, yeah, the little area down here is a bit different to the Scotrail one. I think this is the same as the West Midlands Railway one. It looks kind of the same anyway. I'll tell you what isn't the same. The internals of the cab, as you can see, these are yellow here. They're actually green in there. You can see the green in there. Let's unlock the doors as well. A key thing with this one as well is the door opening sounds are actually different between the two variants. So it's not a carbon copy. They have been completely changed between the two of them. Of course, like we've just done with the other two variants, we'll do a short run just to university, just to, you know, listen to it and give it a good run. As you can see, this is operating a service towards Cardiff. Now, interestingly, this variant of the 170 would actually layer into most places. As you can see, Cardiff Central there, so it'd layer into that route. It'd also layer into the Midland Main Line, East Coast Main Line, Manchester Airport commuter. It'd layer in all sorts of places. So realistically, this one you could get the most gameplay out of. But yeah, let's get the doors locked and let's get ready to go. And I'll let you listen to it one more time as we leave. As you can hear as well, the door closing sounds are slightly different. Right, for one last time, let's go in the 170. Let's have a little listen to this one. Right, now let's get the beans off there because it's only 10 mile an hour out of Birmingham New Street. But yeah, the sounds are relatively similar between the three of them. I think there is some slight differences. I think the 170, the Scotrail 170 is the one that sounds the most different. I think the West Midlands one and this one sound very, very, very similar. But I mean, they all sound like 170s to me, so I don't think the sounds are that bad. Some people might say, oh, this should sound a little bit different to this and whatever else, but to me, they sound pretty decent. Of course, we've got the wonderful CrossCountry livery and licence. Looks absolutely splendid. It really does. I do quite like the CrossCountry stuff. Right then, up to 40 mile an hour. We'll fly through 5 ways in just a second. What I'll do is I'll jump to the outside of it, because in tunnels, you'll be able to hit the train a lot better. There you go. Very, very noisy. I like it. Oh, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful looking train, this. Right then, here is 5 ways, and I must admit, I think the Turbo Stars are my favourite trains in Train Sim World. I absolutely love them, so we need more variants of them, please. Give me the Northern one. I want to see a Northern 170, please. Again, let's trundle along as we go towards University, but yeah, this is really, really nice. What's interesting with these is that these would only call at University in real life. They've added in Bromsgrove as a service point. Just mainly for gameplay, and I quite like that, to be honest. But yeah, it's cool to have this license in the game, isn't it? It is cool to have cross-country, and hopefully it opens it up to see other pieces of cross-country rolling stock. I know a lot of people want a certain particular piece of rolling stock, and I certainly want to see it as well, but I don't know whether that's going to happen, but it'd be cool. It's just a cool pack as well, because it makes Birmingham feel an awful lot busier. It really, really does. So Rivet, you've done a fantastic job with this. Right then, full beans up to 50 mile an hour as we approach into University. So obviously, yeah, a key thing to notice with this is that all these 170s are courtesy of Rivet Games. And I tell you what, I think they've done a good job with the 170s, if I'm honest. But yeah, we're not too far away from University, so let's make sure to set the beans off there. But yeah, obviously a key thing to note as well, similar to the West Midlands Railway one, is you can't mess around with the destination boards. But again, I think they're dynamic, so I think if you spawn this in whatever route, it'll work. So it should be fine. But yeah, this is really cool, and I'd probably say that this 170 pack is probably one of my favourite DLCs to date. I absolutely love it. What it's done for Birmingham has really, really impressed me, if I'm honest. I absolutely love it. So let's get slowed down, and again, let's test the brakes of this particular 170. Right, slow down. We're at brake 2, 30 mile an hour as we approach the station. Let's slow right down with a 323 in the platform there. So this is cool. It's a different perspective to the route, because obviously up until now we've just seen it for the window of a 323. So now we can do it for the windows of the 170, and I absolutely love it. Right, let's stop there and open the doors. So if I'm honest, I think the braking on this one and the West Midlands one are actually stronger than the Scotrail one. It feels a lot stronger anyway. And yeah, it's the same sort of thing with the acceleration. I feel like these ones are a bit more sluggish, which I think is a bit more realistic, to be honest. With the Scotrail one, it kind of just goes straight away. With this one, it gives it a couple of seconds, which I think is quite realistic. Anyway, let's run through the inside of the cross-country one, which I think has probably got my favourite interior. Look at this, looks really fancy. Of course, the seats look a bit different as well. You can see the shape of them are different, and also they don't have that green circular thing like the West Midlands ones have. And also the Scotrail one's got like a yellow square, so obviously all the seats have been remodelled as well. It's a stupid little thing to point out seats, but you've got to think, if each variant has different seats and whatever, and there's loads of different seats in the train, you've got to think they've got to remodel that. Going through to standard class looks really nice through here. Again, like I mentioned, there is, like I say, the doors here as you go through to first class, but the West Midlands Railway one has that sort of open canopy looking thing and the handlebars and stuff, so that's a key difference there. Again, I do wonder if there's any differences on like maps and stuff. I don't think there is. No, there's not. So obviously the Scotrail one's actually got more of a kitted out interior. Obviously if we go through here, looks really nice indeed. Obviously it's a bit different down here. There's a table in the West Midlands variant. I think there's also a table in the Scotrail one as well, so it's a bit different there. But yeah, it looks really nice through here. Even things like the table patterns, I think the table sort of patterns are different as well. Silly little things, you could probably spend quite a lot of time looking at the differences. Again, PIS works, but interestingly this one and the West Midlands one don't have scrolling PIS. That is probably one thing I would have liked to have seen, but I don't know how realistic that is. And of course, taking a closer look at the livery, it looks absolutely splendid. It really, really does. It looks absolutely fantastic. I love it. But yeah, these look absolutely splendid. We've got 2 there. That's a proper photo mode opportunity there. I tell you what, we're going to do that. Photo mode, please. Look at that. Fantastic. I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, the cross-country one's a relatively simple one, because obviously it's like a standard silver looking shell with these little purple elements to it. I really, really like it. Anyway, let's run on to the front of this cross-country here and do a little final thoughts on this one. So that's a little look at the cross-country 170, and that is a look at all 3 different variants. So I'll jump into Birmingham New Street, I'll spawn them all back in again, and I'll give you my final thoughts. So I'll see you in Birmingham. So we're back here in Birmingham New Street. Obviously the Scotrail one doesn't really belong here, but let's talk about which Class 170 is better. Of course, going in release order, the Scotrail one is the first one we ever got, and I tell you what, it's truly iconic, isn't it? The Scotrail livery is absolutely splendid on it. It really is a beautiful train. I do quite like the Scotrail one. Obviously the Scotrail one is attached to a route, and technically speaking it does a lot more than the other two at the minute. Obviously, you know, if it came into Midland Main Line and East Coast Main Line and whatever else, then the other two would be on more routes, but as it stands, the Scotrail one layers into more places. We'll continue going in alphabetical order and talk about the West Midlands Railway one. So this one out of the three I think is my favourite, but that is a little bit of bias because I'm most familiar with these ones. Obviously with this one it adds a lot of services to the Birmingham Cross City, mainly, you know, going northbound towards Aston and also then going southbound towards Bromsgrove. These are awesome, and like I say, I've been on these many a time and they look absolutely fantastic. One thing I would have liked to have seen maybe with this 170 is maybe a London Midland variant of it, because that's the one I remember the most, but the orange livery is still pretty nice, and like I say, as someone that's been on these and has a lot of experience with this type of 170, I'm truly not disappointed with this at all, so this is probably my favourite. And then of course we finish off with the CrossCountry 170, which I've got to say just looks absolutely stunning. I really like the livery. I think the livery, all the liveries are quite good. Probably the Scotrail one's my favourite livery because it's blue, but the CrossCountry one is still really nice. I think what I like most about this one is like the interior. It's really nice, like the wood finish on the floor and just the livery. Oh, it just looks fantastic, it really does. But yeah, I am quite a fan of the CrossCountry one. But let me know what you think. Which Class 170 do you think is the best one? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know what other variants of the Class 170 you want to see. I think there's a Northern one that we're still yet to see. I think there's an EMR one. If I'm forgetting any, do let me know. Obviously, there's the 171, the Southern 171. So hopefully, in time, we see more variants of this wonderful Turbo Star. Of course, now that I've compared a couple of 170s, I'm going to leave that video there. So thank you all for watching this video. I've been Richie, and I'll hopefully see you all next time. Bye-bye.